Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I got so many articles to talk about that I need about 3 hours, and I didn't know which one to start with, and I said let's start with this one because I think it's a very important. Not that the other ones are not important, but I think this is one of the most important ones. So let's see if I picked the right one. And it has to do with Serbia and Kosovo. If you remember, they had a little dispute. No, not that one. One that occurred about a month ago. And they solved it. They agreed to a little deal. So Serbia with Kosovo. And Brussels is happy about it. So let's see what they settled. This article comes from Reuters. And it's EU says Serbia, so European Union says Serbia, Kosovo settled dispute over identity documents. Serbia and Kosovo have settled an ethnic dispute over the movement of citizens across their border, European Union Foreign Policy's chief Joseph Borrell said on Saturday. And I'm quoting, "We have a deal," Borrell said in a tweet. "Kosovo Serbs, as well as all other citizens, will be able to travel freely between Kosovo and Serbia using their ID cards." The EU just received guarantees from Prime Minister Albin Kurti to this end. The dispute stemmed from predominantly ethnic Albanian Kosovo's delegation of independence from Serbia, declaration of independence from Serbia in 2008, something Belgrade has refused to recognize. Serbia and Kosovo still have to agree on the hotly contended use of Serbian car numbers plates issued in the north of Kosovo, where Serbs defy the government in Pristina and see Belgrade as their capital. Independent Kosovo is recognized by the United States, all but 5 EU members, but not by a number of other states, including Serbia's allies Russia and China. They used to say that they are recognized by a little bit more than 100 states. Remember, there are about 194, so half almost, or a little bit more than half. So independent Kosovo is recognized. The most recent flare-up of tensions between Serbia and Kosovo has been triggered by a directive for Kosovo authorities for local Serbs to switch their car number plates from Serbian to Kosovo ones from September 1st. Serbs from northern Kosovo responded by setting roadblocks and clashing sporadically with police before NATO peacekeepers oversaw their removal. I thought that NATO is a defensive alliance, not a peacekeeping alliance, but you know what they are. They are actually the enforcers or big business around the world whenever they have an interest. Kosovo, NATO shows up and clears the path so nobody talks and nobody disagrees, and then the interests come in and they do what they do best, do business with the locals. The talks between EU and US envoys with the authorities in Serbia and Kosovo have so far failed to yield concrete results about the car number plates issue. Earlier in the day, Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić said he was hoping the EU would provide guarantees for the personal documents agreement. He also said Serbia will be issuing a general disclaimer in which it would be written that the use of identity cards issued by Pristina was allowed for practical reasons with an aim of facilitating the freedom of movement, but not tantamount to the recognition of Kosovo's independence. So for something, that you need to do because you need to, work it out somehow, but not because we recognize Kosovo. And I'm quoting, "Under the EU-facilitated dialogue, Serbia agreed to abolish entry-exit documents for Kosovo ID holders, and Kosovo agreed to not introduce them for Serbian ID holders," Borrell tweeted. Belgrade and Kosovo Serbs minority also claim entitlement under the 2013 EU brokered agreement to an association of semi-autonomous majority Serb municipalities, which Pristina has refused to implement. So that means was done, but they don't want to implement it. So much freedom and diversity. So, yeah, they love it, right? And that is, yeah, that's what it is with these guys for now. So they agreed to not need the, so if they want to go in and out with the license plate, so be it. But on the other hand, if you go with an ID from Kosovo, they should be recognized to cross the border into the Serbia. This is what the deal is here. So they, and then they said Serbs, obviously they claimed that they did this just because of the, you know, the functionality of all that. Well, they had to give something to get something, it seems like, until things in Ukraine settle down. You know what I mean? So they free one of their hand to take care of the Balkans, or who knows. Anyway, I think that the situation in the Balkans is not solved. It's far from being solved. I think there will be more problems. It seems to be as if is the situation after the First World War, when Germany was raped too hard, and it ripped a lot of parts, and therefore they did not heal. And because they did not heal, they were staying active. Then you had the Second World War partly because of that, because of the grievances of the Germans, who saw themselves as victims to a certain extent, because I'm sorry to remind you, but it was not Germany starting the war, but Germany was the one who paid the most. I mean, maybe not the most, but because if you think about the Austro-Hungary Empire disappeared, and then they formed the country of Poland, which was non-existent as a country at that point. So there were some people who benefited, and then Poland got the Danzig. That was a big problem. That's why it was the September 1st, 1939 invasion of Germany, of Poland, because of Danzig and Gdansk given to the Poles from the Germans from the First World War, after the First World War. So the Germans were raped really, really bad, and then that's what happened. And here it seems like in my assessment, I think the Serbs were raped really, really bad, and I think the wounds are still there, and blood and bleeding. So what are you going to do about it? They're not going to just stay in a corner crying, because they got some powerful friends nowadays, more powerful than in 1999. And it's not only Russia, but it's also China. So I think the victim is just buying time until those guys are getting a little bit more settled in Ukraine, and not only, and then probably there will be a little splendid war, right, in the Balkans, as the American president said, right, about the Mexican-American War. Wasn't that Roosevelt, the first one, Theodore Roosevelt, a little splendid war about Mexican or something, the Cuba incident, and when that blew off in Havana, and they just invaded over there and cleared everything with American Spanish. So that's it. We'll see what happens next. I have another big article that I have to discuss about the gay parade in Belgrade that the Serb authority cancelled, and then we had some little problems and a lot of hypocrisy. Next one. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.